Yo, what's up? My name is ChaosBell. I'm your local Foxboy weatherman. So, I recently saw this little tour get announced. Whilst it's not yet coming to Europe, I must say I am incredibly hyped. Like, I genuinely never imagined that a tour like this would happen. But in the meantime, I think that this is a perfect opportunity to put some shine on an era in King Crimson's discography that I still feel is a bit underrated. In this 3-part video series, I will be discussing and reviewing the 3 albums from 80s King Crimson. That is Discipline, Beat, and Three of a Perfect Pair. First, we will start with the comeback album. King Crimson reintroduced themselves to the world, but also reinvent themselves for the 80s. This is Discipline. Alright, so to give a bit of backstory on this album, we first have to rewind back to 1974. Robert Fripp, guitarist, band leader, and sole remaining founding member of King Crimson, is ready to throw in the towel. 7 albums over the span of 5 years with countless lineup and sound changes. Fripp, no longer fulfilled by music, decides to just end King Crimson and vanishes from the public eye to go on a bit of a self-discovery journey. A couple of years later, with a new perspective, Fripp re-enters the world and throws himself back into music, starting with a lot of session work for some legendary albums and even some solo albums. One thing led to another, and he started a band called Discipline around 1980. This band consisted of Fripp on guitar, of course, the super in-demand guitar noise-making wizard Adrian Belew on vocals and guitar, session musician extraordinaire Tony Levin on bass and Chapman stick, and finally King Crimson alumnus Bill Bruford on drums and percussion. With this lineup, they were ready to head into the world with a bold new musical direction, but slowly and certainly, the idea floated around in this camp to perhaps revive the King Crimson name. Finally, they decided to do so, and this led to them putting out their first album called Discipline in 1981. Before we get into the first track, I just want you to imagine you're a fan of King Crimson back in the 70s. The last thing you hear from them is probably the song Starless from their 1974 masterpiece Red. The song kinda goes like this. And now imagine being in the 80s and you hear that King Crimson decided to reform and put out a new album, and you press play on it, and the first thing you hear is this. I can only imagine just how shocking this track must have been to any King Crimson fan back in the 80s. Track 1, Elephant Talk. Elephant Talk, I feel like, is the perfect way to introduce Discipline, as this song immediately sets the stage for the sound that King Crimson went for during this period. Like, this song encapsulates so many of the 80s King Crimsonisms, and it does it so extremely well. First of all, we have Robert Fripp, who is playing these fast, intricate, repeating guitar figures. This sound is not always in the forefront, but it has this very distinct vibe and timbre that it brings to the track. And then you have newcomer Adrian Belew, who is very much a different type of player compared to Fripp. He is a lot more angular, percussive, very distinctly post-punk or even funky on the guitar. And on this track, he is trying to make an array of unusual sounds through the usage of the neck dive, harmonics, or even playing behind the nut. Both of them have very distinct styles that in other bands I would feel would not work, as they would clash, but here they just perfectly complement each other. Of course, both of them have also guitar solos on this song. Fripp's is quite well composed and actually shows up more of the weird guitar synth sound. Meanwhile, Baloo cranks up distortion and is just trying to get whatever noise he can get out of his guitar before the guitar breaks. I genuinely believe like the two of them brought out the best in each other, and it really shows on this particular track. And of course, if we're talking about the guitar, we have the iconic elephant sound that Baloo is producing from his distorted guitar. This is fucking awesome. The second hallmark of this era is the funky bass lines played on a Chapman stick by Tony Levin. The Chapman stick is this like weird amalgamation between a guitar and a bass that you play while tapping on it. It has this distinctly funky percussive sound. His intro to Elephant Talk is, to me, one of the most iconic bass lines of all time, and the fact that they let him start off the album with this is just amazing. Finally, we have Bill Bruford, who adds another musical characteristic to this album. Like, on the forefront, he kinda anchors the track with this steady kick snare pattern that is quite simple and danceable. Yet, on top of it, you would have expected some cymbal work, some hi-hat, but during most of this album, the cymbals are just used for some special accent. There is no hi-hat, and instead he is grooving and playing these odd groupings on the high-pitched toms instead. This gives the album this like tribal-like feel, and it works surprisingly well with everything that goes underneath this song. Finally, we have the lyrics and vocals, and on this track there is this like cool little quirk to the verses. Namely, each verse is mentioning words about talking and communication, but they all start with the same letter. The first verse starts with A, the second verse with B, third verse with C. By the time they get to the fourth verse, you get some silly stuff like Baloo saying, "These are words with a D this time." This all just culminates into a song that is both weird, technical, avant-garde, yet is also accessible and even fun. Like, yes, King Crimson has precedent of sillier type songs like Cat Food, but up until this point, they never have sounded like they had this much fun playing together. So yeah, it's an excellent introduction to the album, and it really sets the stage of what's to come further. Let's see what's next. Track 2, Frame by Frame. This song is all about the guitar work. This song starts with this super fast yet extremely cleanly played repeating guitar figure by Robert Fripp, which adds so much urgency to the track. Like, even in today's world where we live with all these super shredders, I still am extremely impressed by what he's playing on this track. But to me, this song is actually build up to another highlight of the album and a staple of 80s King Crimson, namely the interlocking guitar parts. So in this song, you have this 40-note riff, where Fripp and Baloo are playing the same thing, and suddenly Fripp starts playing the riff but just drops one of the notes, so he's playing 30 out of the 40 notes. The iteration that he's playing is progressively starting to not the riff. And you get this weird phasing effect. It's amazing and so incredibly cool. Like, I don't even think I've ever heard another band attempt something like this. This is 100% pure prog weirdness, but it's just filtered through the sounds of 80s new wave. Additionally, on this song, Baloo sings a lot more, and he gets actually a chance to really shine on this song. He is not only a really good vocalist, but he's also very gifted at writing these catchy melodies, which add another layer to the technical instrumentation underneath. Overall, this is a standout song on the album for me. Track 3, Mate Kudasai. Next up, we have Mate Kudasai, which is Japanese for Please Wait. This song is actually a ballad and is a very calm and beautiful moment. Gives us a little bit of rest in between the madness that we have just experienced and the madness that is still to come. This song features some lovely slide guitar playing by Baloo and is about how much he misses, I think, his then wife. The song is a beautiful moment and gives you some breath before we dive back into the weird. Track 4, Indiscipline. With the fourth track, Indiscipline, we dive back into the madness. And I would personally say that this song is probably the heaviest song on the album. Like, this song starts with this simple riff that is building a lot of tension. Bruford gets a bit of a solo before the song explodes into that main riff. Especially in the live shows, Bruford really got a chance to go wild with the drum solo before the song started. And this was a tradition that was kept even in later iterations of King Crimson, where the last iteration had 3 drummers and they were all just trading back and forth during the drum solo intro of Indiscipline. That shit is cool as fuck. Now, the main riff of this song is quite heavy, distorted, and kinda chaotic, and it only gets more so during each iteration as Baloo and Fripp are soloing and going fully atonal on top of it. In the verses, the song falls back to this intro riff, and Baloo is doing this spoken word thing. I think he's meant to talk out of the point of a frustrated artist who is trying to determine whether he's happy with the piece of art that he's been working on, but he's not sure. Is it really done? Am I really happy with it? And yeah, some like really iconic moments like
myself when under stress. I repeat myself when under stress. I repeat myself when under stress. I repeat.
Or the song just gloriously ends with him shouting, I like it! This song is another certified banger and plays very well with the tension build up during the verse and Baloo just being unhinged, and then the release felt during the main riff where the entire track just explodes. Another certified banger on this album. Track 5, Tela Hunjinjit. Next up is the 5th track on Discipline, which is Tela Hunjinjit. And to me, this song is the centerpiece of the album. Like, it stands out to me as being the most intense track on Discipline. It also captures all of the quirks of 80s King Crimson, and honestly, it's probably one of their best songs. Straight up. The song kicks off with Riff playing one of his intricate repeating riffs, and Baloo is laying down this funk-infused guitar groove, which is so iconic. And when they play this live, usually they just let him start the song with that, and I just love it. By the time the entire band comes in, Tony Levin is playing this fat slap bass groove, which really drives this song further. Again, this is King Crimson for the 80s. Now, the song title is an anagram for Heating the Jungle, and I think this song is about capturing the frantic energy of being in a dangerous city like New York. Halfway throughout the song, the band decided to layer a recording of Baloo retelling a real-life encounter he had on the streets with some gang members as he was part of recording the album. The story goes that he came back to the studio after this encounter and started telling the band this, and Robert Fripp just sneakily decided to record him. And then they put this on the song, and it adds this sense of urgency and drama to the music. Gives a lot of credence to Baloo singing, "Watch out, it is a dangerous place," on the song. I also think this song has a super fun chorus that is actually catchy as fuck. Again, to me, this is the centerpiece of the album. Track 6, The Sheltering Sky. For the 6th song, we have, I'd say, the weirdest song on the album, and that is The Sheltering Sky. Now, this song is the first instrumental track on the album, And unlike the songs before it, it feels more like an ambient kind of improvised piece. There's much less of a structure to this song, and it feels more like it's a set of passages weaved together. This song starts with Bruford playing percussion, namely this slit drum, which has this very unique timbre. He plays this instrument throughout the entire song. It has this almost hypnotic, repetitive groove to it. As the song continues, one by one, the other members join in on the song until they finally are all together playing the first theme of the song. And then the song just slowly fades into the different passages, introducing new musical ideas until the song settles back on that initial theme. And one by one, the instruments start dropping off until the last one standing is still Bill Bruford with the slit drum. Then the song ends. This song also showcases Robert Fripp playing some really nice synth guitar sounding solos. It has this very distinct flavor to the album, and it helps us calm down a bit after the insanity that was De La Hunjinjit and Indiscipline. This song is honestly a personal favorite of mine. I have listened to this song on loop so many times when I was studying for exams. It's truly amazing. Track 7, Discipline. Finally, the album closes with the title track, Discipline. Having this song as the title track to me feels like it is a very appropriate choice, as this song encompasses all the quirks of King Crimson from this era. You have the intricate, non-distorted guitar work that is very much interlocked between Ballou and Fripp. You have a funky bass line played on a Chapman stick by Levin, and Bruford plays a steady 4-pulse kick whilst going all over the place using his toms, which gives a distinctly tribal feel to the track. And of course, the phasing guitar riff makes a comeback on this song. Even though this song is an instrumental, it has a lot of energy and the groove goes really hard. Overall, this track is a very strong closer to a magnificent album. Discipline offers a lot of different ideas in the span of just 7 songs. The album is actually surprisingly short and just breezes by, yet each song is very much distinct and quite memorable. And it showcases King Crimson's ability to blend accessibility with avant-garde elements. Entering the new era that was the 80s, the boys in King Crimson's really were determined to take on the new sound of the era, and in my opinion they managed to find a sound that would fit in with the other new wave bands, but is still distinctly King Crimson. I have even heard it being said that the repetitious elements of this particular era of King Crimson was inspired by stuff like Indonesian gamelan music, which after having listened to some of it I can totally see, and I find that really cool. This album in a lot of ways proves that if the foundations of the song are catchy and accessible to a certain extent, you can get away with a lot of weirdness on top of it. In my opinion, this used to be 70s King Crimson's strength and is what made all their classic songs so good. But I feel, especially now with Ballou at the co-helm of the band, that the accessibility has been turned up a notch, but the band never compromises. It is still distinctly Prog. It is still distinctly King Crimson. And to be honest, even to this day, I don't think I've ever heard another band attempt this particular blend of progressive new wave. I know this might be blasphemous, but I actually prefer Discipline over most of its peers, even Remain in Light, which I know is a very much beloved album. I discovered Discipline a couple years ago, and ever since then I've not been able to put this album down. It has slowly worked its way into my heart and become one of my all-time favorite albums. I'd even say it's probably within my top 3 favorite albums of all time. So, in conclusion, for me, Discipline is a no-skip disc. This means that when I'm listening to this album, I'm not skipping any of the tracks. All of the tracks are 10 out of 10s. Secondly, I would definitely recommend this album as a gateway point towards King Crimson. Like, yes, it doesn't sound anything like their 70s output, which is most likely what they're most known for. But if you're not into prog, I think those can be quite overwhelming. So having something that is a bit more palatable and accessible will get you acclimatized to the prog weirdness perhaps a bit better than the 70s stuff. Finally, if you want to check out this album but are not sure yet, I'd honestly say listen to the first 2 tracks, Elephant Talk and Frame by Frame. And if you like them at all, just listen to the full album. If they don't speak to you, most likely this will not be for you. With Discipline, King Crimson was able to make a powerful statement and put themselves back on the map. The band was working like a well-oiled engine. But were they able to keep this up? How do you follow up an album like Discipline? Well, tune in next time when we get to the sequel to Discipline with some strange spaghetti on beat. See you next time. Alright, thank you very much for watching and listening to me ramble on about this album that I love so much. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you have any suggestions of albums I should check out, please leave them in the comments. And of course, subscribe so that you do not miss the next review on Beat. This has been ChaosBell, your local foxboy, weatherman, and I'm out. I like it!